At that moment, it was a beautiful moment that, like, oh my God, I'm gonna have a child. This is great news because this is actually the happiest day of my life. I was put into a position where I have to choose between my country and my family's always gonna come first. I got out of a really bad relationship, and I was really skeptical about getting into another relationship. So I pushed a lot of people away that were trying to get close to me. And then one person messaged me from the Philippines, and at that time, it was different from all the other people who messaged me. She actually, it wasn't like she was trying to pick me up. It wasn't like she wanted to even have a relationship. She was just easy to talk to, just very curious. I was tricked before. I thought I was in love so many times, but it wasn't love. It was like you're filling a void. You had a relationship, you got out of a relationship, now you don't have one and you feel like you need another one. It's like somebody's taken that missing place that you wish you had a partner. But for her, it's not. It's like, I want to hear everything she has to say. It was so easy to talk to her. It was just like, she made my life more interesting because all the things that I love in my life, she's never heard of. So it's like someone for the first time actually wants to hear you, all about you, because she's actually curious.
He always explained to me. Sometimes I'm thinking that he might gonna be tired explaining to me since that I keep on asking to him. Then every time he calls at the college prop, it's really, really sad days. Every day it's like hell. Always in a miserable life.
She talks to my mom every day, my sister every day. She's so close to them, and even my family say that we love Marianne. Like, we're so close to. How's Marianne doing? And always asking can you get her on Skype? And it's so sad because they actually have a real bond that is just as strong as somebody you meet face to face, and they've never seen them. So after you end the call, you see the sadness on my mom's face of like, when can I get to meet her?
Didn't understand long distance relationships at first over the internet, but then I got to talk to her as well. I've talked to her for over a year, pretty much on a daily basis. So now I kind of get the way it works now with long distance relationships, and we're actually in a very close relationship, and love her.
She gets rejected every time she applies to Canada for a visit.
Marianne applied for a visitor's visa to Canada twice in early 2015. Brian wanted his family to meet the woman he was marrying that spring. However, she was denied both times.
Under the legislation, in order to qualify as a visitor to Canada, you have to be able to demonstrate that you will comply with all of the conditions that are placed on you. The most important condition, of course, being that you will leave Canada at the end of your visit and return back home. So the problem that some people have from some countries is that if they have local conditions which are less than Canada, so for example, low employment, high unemployment rates, bad local living conditions, sometimes a visa officer could think to themselves, well, if I give this person a visa to come to Canada, they may have motivations to try and stay in Canada instead of going back home because the conditions are better in Canada.
The simple things that they do on their everyday life, it's an adventure. And just being with her was an adventure. And then the more time we spent, we've traveled all around the Philippines together. 2 days before I left, she decided to get a pregnancy test. It said that she was pregnant. And it just hit me like, I didn't have any bad feelings toward it. I had no thoughts behind it because I didn't know anything about immigration. I couldn't speculate what problems I might encounter from that. At that moment, it was a beautiful moment that, like, oh my God, I'm gonna have a child, and this is great news.
The wedding went ahead as planned in May of last year in the Philippines, and once it was over, Brian flew back to his home in Oshawa to work and save money for a trip in October to witness his daughter's birth.
This situation I'm in now, it's like there is no answers. They simply just can say, you're not allowed to visit Canada because of this reason. And you have this thought that, okay, I understand, I'll fix it. I'll make sure that we have this credential for the next time. You can't seem to speak to someone who wants to talk to you. So it's very difficult for me to get my wife to come visit me in any way.
Also many times in the Canadian Embassy. However, it's just go through the voicemail, then it says just press this number, keep on putting me into the different, how to say this one, I tried to call them, but the problem is they always refer me to the website, but no one can answer our questions.
The refusal letter that they give to a person when they refuse them for a visa is very, very generic. It's the same letter that they send to everybody. They just check off a box saying this is the reason why you refused, but it doesn't give you any details of what the actual officer was thinking at that moment.
Brian wants to sponsor his wife for permanent residency. However, that application can take several years to be approved, at which point he worries his baby girl won't recognize him. Brian's family has yet to meet baby Aria or Marianne in person.
No, I'm going to take the closest I can come to holding Aria. She looks a lot like her son did at her age. And I look at the pictures I'm holding her, and I can't imagine how devastating it must be to not be a part of your child's life as they're growing up. And I know how much it's affecting him, and which affects us as well.
It's a very big problem because, I mean, on top of the regular requirements that you have for visiting Canada, once you've applied for a sponsorship, you've now signaled your intention that you want to live in Canada permanently. So there can be sometimes a conflict between saying, I want to just visit for 3 weeks and see my husband, and I want to immigrate permanently. So it raises a suspicion or a doubt in the mind of the visa officer.
It's difficult because yeah, you fill out a piece of paper, but you also have to be situated. And I just got out of school. I was a full-time student. I got my physics degree. And, you know, this is the beginning of my new career. And so if you were to look at my past 6 months of employment, you're not going to see something very impressive. You're going to see a full-time student. And this is all taken into account to make the decision. Should we take are they eligible to sponsor this person?
On April 19th of this year, Marianne received an approval for a visitor's visa, the first one. However, because Aria's father is Canadian, she requires a Canadian passport to come to Canada. That can take several months or longer to receive, at which point Marianne's visitor visa may expire.
Well, the hardest part is when he called and Arya did not recognize him. It's like Brian is a very stranger. It's a stranger for Arya.
Arya right now has, she's had a cold for, they called it a cold for a month now, over a month. It seems actually since she was born, she was sick with some kind of cold. And you take her to the doctors, they unfortunately don't have the medicine that we have. And they don't really do lab tests. In fact, they don't do any tests. They kind of just make an assumption and write a prescription for 5 medications that you got to give to the baby. And when you look at it, when you look at the medications, it's just a mixture of things that you don't want an adult to be on, let alone a kid. And you get an opinion from a doctor, and they're just their eyebrows go up and go, "This is for a kid? You never give this to a kid." And see, so what do? Do I give the child the medicine because their doctor said so, or do I follow our doctor? So it's always been like that. But now she's broke out in rashes. She's got rashes all over her body. And I really just want to get her checked out. I just want to bring her to a doctor who I'm comfortable with. Like when I come up with money, the first thing I want to do, the first thing that enters my mind is, wow, I can actually go see my baby again. And I have to choose between seeing my child and filling out a sponsorship form, which is probably going to be rejected because I'm going to pick up and leave and see my child, because no government rule is going to stop me from fulfilling the role every father should fill, is to be there in your child's life. And that to me is more important than what a piece of paper looks like. So to fill out a sponsorship form seems to be quite simple, but when you actually analyze the entire picture, it's not that simple.